Hey guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today playing 3 different bowler decks, kind of not taking things too seriously the day before balance change comes to the game. So you guys probably already know, but in case you don't, the elixir cost on the bowlers, as you can see about halfway down this list, is being reduced from 5 elixir to 4. Now they do get a damage and hit point nerf, but that's not nearly as great as the elixir reduction will make them worth. So what I've done is set up 3 decks today, and then what we'll do is just start a random tournament and just play them and try them out. So you can see there are 3 totally different decks. The first one was kind of a cycle deck, very cheap cost. The second one here is the Trifecta deck, only subbing in the bowler to the Trifecta. And the third one, the one I'm really most excited about actually, is this kind of interesting variation of spawner deck. And to keep the elixir costs down in that deck, what I've done is basically I don't have a pump in the deck, but instead of the Barbarian Hut, which is obviously a very expensive card, we subbed in the new Tombstone, which got yet an additional buff this coming update tomorrow, so that will be live as well. The skeleton spawn speed, aka the total number of skeletons spawned from a Tombstone, has been increased. So hopping right into this first deck here, and this one's probably the most vanilla of the 3 in terms of the card selection here. It's really a basic cycle deck, and where you would normally have the Hog Rider, or at least some variation of a cycle deck, where you would normally have the Hog Rider, I actually just put the bowler right in there. I just figured I'd test it out, see how it does. I should have put those Barbarians in the right lane, not really paying attention here. Let's go ahead and see if we can get them to the tower. Of course we didn't, they had the Fireball, but we'll go ahead and see what we can do here. So the idea with this variation of the deck is just to play the bowler in back of the King Tower, and then you have a lot of low elixir cost cards to basically pile in front or in back of him. I actually really love the Knight in the third deck I'm going to be sharing with you guys, so maybe, just maybe, the Knight might have a home in this deck as well. Maybe for the archers, for example, because even though the bowler is a tanky unit, I actually find that he works pretty well having a Knight placed right in front of him. Partially that's actually because, given the tournament standards on the level caps, the Knight actually has more hit points than the bowler does, so you get a lot of hit points for only 7 elixir after the update. Right now it's costing me 8, but you can see the idea. So I'm going to try to get 2 bowlers on the board right now. So 2 bowlers is pretty cool with a pushback effect. Of course the mini P.E.K.K.A. is a pretty decent counter to the bowler if you can actually get him on the bowler. But look at this, guys, a bowler and a few Spirit Goblins, the Valkyrie, another pretty nice counter, because if you can distract the bowler, obviously then his boulders aren't going to hit the tower. So I did get a few hit points damage off that right tower, and with these archers here, I'm gonna have to reload and play some defense against this this Hog Rider. But the idea here is to get a really nice flow of troops in one lane, and then just boom, drop that bowler, or drop the bowler behind my King Tower and then supplement him and complement him depending on how my opponent reacts or counters my bowler. So right here is a good example of that. So I'm going to wait till this witch comes down. I'll just drop these barbarians all around this witch, and they'll just make sure that bomber is dead. So the bomber's dead, so he's probably going to fireball my my barbarians here. Make sure I space out between these archers. I might get that Valkyrie down. Looks like this is going to be a really solid push here. I'm going to get 2 bowlers again on the board here, so this should be enough, fingers crossed, should be enough to take down this tower. Of course, that's a problem here. That's why I'm really excited with the third deck here, guys. It looks like I'm going to get it right now. There it is. So the bowlers do get the job done, and I was able to really mitigate any damage being done to my right tower. Just a little bit of damage. You got the Hog there a couple times, and partially that was just my own mistake, not being Johnny on the spot there with the Barbarians. So a decent win here on our first match with the bowler. Now I do want to mention about the legendaries. So obviously you may or may not have noticed that all 3 of these decks do not include any legendary cards, and that's really based on your feedback, guys. You guys really enjoy videos that don't feature a lot of legendary cards, because that really singles out a lot of players. Some players, you know, want to watch these videos and not have half the decks not even pertain to them. So what I'm kind of thinking is doing videos like this, where I create kind of an archetype for a certain strategy deck. I don't include any legendary cards, cards, and then if you have legendaries, at the end of the video, I'll give you some suggestions on what legendaries to add to which of the decks in which spots. That way, hopefully, everybody benefits from the video. So that's going to be the format, not on all my videos, because I really do still want to do tournament spotlights on winning decks, and of course, a lot of those, if not most of those, do have legendary cards. So it's not going to be exclusively that way, but that's going to be the formats to these kind of new videos I've been doing the last few weeks, where I do 6 matches and I switch up 3 different decks, 2 matches with each deck. That's what we're doing in this video, and of course this hog gets to my tower as I'm not paying attention, and that was a good poison there. It's going to allow his musketeer to do some heavy damage to my right tower, so that was not the start we wanted. Well, I guess it was the start we wanted in terms of the damage we did to the opponent's tower, just not what we wanted to have happen to our tower. So this is obviously the second deck. This is the Trifecta deck, and out of the 3 decks, this one, just going to be totally upfront with you guys, this one is the one that I'm the least confident in. Why is that? Because for whatever reason, I did test out all 3 of these decks before I brought them to you guys, and for whatever reason, I like the deck. It's not like I don't like the Trifecta deck or I don't like the Bowler, but for whatever reason, the Bowler in the Trifecta deck, I kind of find that a lot of situations in the match, they either call for a Hog Rider or they call for a Bowler, and rarely do you have enough elixir to cast both of them. Of course, you can do what we were doing in the previous match there. That was a good job by him taking down my right tower, by the way. In the previous match, what we did was we put the Bowler behind the tower, and then we were able to get a big, long push behind that Bowler. So that's what we're going to have to be regulated to do on this deck as well, because you can't just throw down a Bowler at the halfway mark unless you have either a pump or it's the last minute of the match where you have double elixir time. So I do kind of find that it's a little bit tough to manage both the Hog Rider and the Bowler. You seem to want both of them, and rarely do you have a chance to get them both on the map like we do right now. So I'm going to cast this mini P.E.K.K.A. in the, I don't know why I keep saying cast, I think place is probably a better verb, but I'm going to place the mini P.E.K.K.A. against his musketeer there, but you can see this is what we want to have happen here. This is exactly what we want to have happen. We have the Bowler essentially guarding the musketeer. Great Valkyrie placement by him, but you can see we still got the tower down. The Bowler has enough hit points to really act as a meat shield if you can put the musketeer right behind him. So I actually do like the deck in terms of the musketeer and every other card, the Valkyrie, the mini P.E.K.K.A., besides necessarily the Hog Rider. Not to say that it can't be successful, as you saw here, but I'm just unsure about it. I haven't played it enough yet to know if you can really get that, develop that synergy between the Bowler and the Hog Rider. So we'll have to see. Now, this is the deck I'm most interested in. Obviously not today, but tomorrow, and that's why I'm bringing you this video, just kind of hypothesizing and guessing as to where the meta might go. So pay attention to these matches. I hope I win them, because really a big fan. In a level 8, a couple level 8s here. Unfortunately, that's just the way things are in tournament play. Maybe I'll do these episodes where I just play my clanmates, but of course then I have to get clanmates on all the time. I don't like bringing ladder play because it's really dependent on card level, and to be honest with you guys, the meta actually changes a lot depending on the level of your card. So tournament play, you guys should obviously already know this, but tournament play a lot different in terms of strategy than actual ladder play. So this is looking pretty good, the start to the things here. I've got a feel for what kind of deck my opponent has, and what I really want to do here is, you know, the arrows come in beautifully here too. I have 2 direct damage spells. I have arrows and I have a fireball, going real old school, opting for arrows and fireball instead of poison and zap. So I think that does come into play a little bit with the minor zap nerf. No pun intended, the minor's also got a nerf, but the minor nerf to the zap. The zap nerf is minor, whatever guys, screw me. But you get the point here. So what we're trying to do is basically build. This is my attempt to revitalize and rejuvenate the spawner deck. So what we've done here is just added the tombstone in, the skeleton spawner, aka the tombstone. We've added this to the deck, and essentially what we want to do is build, defend using the direct damage spells, the knight, and of course anything else you can get your hands on. And then we want to just drop that Bowler, and we should get a real, that was, sad face, that was a really good arrow by him, but we should get a really good push eventually with this combo. So you can see we're still bleeding away at both of these towers actually. The steady stream of the furnace, the goblin hut, and the tombstone, just chipping away at all these units here. and I still haven't been able to get the bowler down at the perfect time there. So I'm going to start directing a few Spirit Goblins to the right here because of this bomb tower, and he keeps playing the Giant, which is pretty frustrating here because the Giant is still incredibly powerful, and of course it's distracting my entire push here. So let's arrow this minion horde really quickly here. Eventually we should get this Giant down without a ton of trouble here. We have just so many units on the board at this point, and the Fire Spirits too do heck of a lot of damage. I mean, Fire Spirits are absolutely amazing. Definitely one of my favorite cards in the game. So another really well-placed bomber tower here. We're gonna go ahead and put down the bowler again on the bomb tower and hope for the best here. And we'll just keep building. I mean, we have 3 more minutes of this match. There's no need to rush when you're playing a spawner deck. It's been a while. I'm sure it's been a while for a lot of you guys too. But when you're playing a spawner deck, there's no rush, right? And especially if you're in tournament play, you have the entire 5 minutes to just continue to chip away at both of the towers. Keep your towers really nice and safe defensively. Just keep building and building and building. Where you run into trouble with spawner decks is if you stop building and focus too much on your push by dropping tons of units in that direction. And you can see here 2 boulders. This is going to be really hard to counter. Fireball wins it. We win. Pretty good game. I really like this deck, guys. Obviously today it's not nearly as powerful as it's going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow you're going to have the better tombstone. You're going to have the cheaper bowler. So keep that in mind when you're watching this gameplay. And obviously all these average elixir costs on these decks are indeed going to be a little bit lower because of that bowler change from 6 to 5. So you can see I am going to swap in the Knight over here for the Barbarians. As I mentioned earlier, the Knight has more hit points than the bowler in tournament play, and I do want to take advantage of that. Of course, it does leave me a little bit more vulnerable defensively, I think, without having those Barbarians, especially against the Royal Giant, but we should probably see a little bit less Royal Giant with a nerf. It wasn't an incredibly strong or dramatic nerf, but still a nerf nonetheless, so I can't see seeing more of these of the Royal Giants, so that should be a good thing for the community as they were pretty unpopular. So I'm not loving this start to the match here for me. It was a really well played Valkyrie there by him. It distracted my Fire Spirits, able to keep his archers alive, and my Knight will die immediately here. So I'm going to play my archers, and again, I did mention it before that archers could probably be swapped for the Barbarian in a Knight combo as well if you wanted to maybe carry both or maybe add a mini P.E.K.K.A. So there's a lot of flexibility in those 3 card spots, basically. The archers, the Barbarian, the mini P.E.K.K.A., the Knight, they can all kind of take up 3 spots in this deck. So really depends on what you're playing. The Princess got a nerf too. The radius nerf or the range nerf of 25% should be interesting. That's one of those changes that, at least for me, other people might be able to predict these things, but I'm just going to have to wait and see tomorrow exactly how that plays out, how it affects the Princess. It's really too early to call, but if you do have a Princess anyway and you want to try her out in this deck, you might go ahead and just sub her in for the archers, because I do think that this is a good example of a deck that would actually be better served with a Princess versus the archers, because you do want some range help with this deck, and currently there's really none. You have the Zap spell and Fire Spirits in terms of splash damage, but it would be nice to add a Princess to that, seeing as we have no Fireball, no Poison, etc., etc. So let's kind of just see what he does here. I haven't really played too much bowler action at all versus him. He has some kind of interesting spawner deck type thing as well going on, so we'll have to wait and see here. I'm going to play Fire Spirits again behind these Barbarians, anticipating his Barbarians. I used a Zap spell, probably didn't even need it there, probably could have been better served to be used on those archers there, so let's kind of see what's going on over here. And a solo Valk coming my way, guys. I think it's time. I think it's time to drop our bowler for the first time 2 minutes and 15 seconds into this match, so definitely probably not the game plan here, but either way, we're going to try to make it work here with a big push right now. So playing the bowler, by the way, directly in the lane behind the tower, so not technically in the lane, but right where I played that bowler is a very effective spot to play the bowler with his pushback effect if you want to defend in that lane and keep your bowler safe. Obviously, that does work against a hog with a pushback effect. It does not work against Sparky or these heavy structures, obviously the Giant against a Golem, or either of the Princes, the Giant Skeleton, etc., etc., you know, the heavy troops. So basically, there was a lot of talk about them adding the pushback effect of the bowler to affect these heavier troops, but they have not done that yet. I think it's still on the agenda. I mean, who really knows? They change things by the day there, but I don't think that will be coming tomorrow. I can say that with some degree of certainty certainty. So again here, 2 bowlers versus 1 giant. Who's gonna win? 2 bowlers, 1 giant. I don't know. YouTube it. It might be parental advisory. So what we're gonna do is, I crack myself up with my lame jokes. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just do 3 bowlers and hope for the best here, guys. 3 bowlers against the right tower. We are in overtime. I'm gonna zap. This should be it. Oh wow, good barbarians there, very good barbarians. But I think I'm still gonna have enough. These bowlers, it's very difficult when you get 2 or 3 bowlers coming at you. But he countered him pretty well there. So good fireball. I'm just spamming, as you can see, guys. And these fire spirits should get it. They do. Sweet. All right. So you know what, guys? I think we're 3-0 or 4-0. We're 4-0 now, so pretty good. Obviously, 2 of those were against level 8, so that's not saying too much, unfortunately. But hey, you can only do what you can do here, just at the mercy of the system, unfortunately. So this is my next deck. So do I want to sub out the Hog Rider? That is the question. Problem is maybe it's the mini P.E.K.K.A. I want to sub out. I mean, I already have a lot of defense with the cannon, the musketeer, the Valkyrie, even the bowler for his pushback. I have a lot of defense here. Maybe I want another direct damage spell, so I could add the poison, or I could add the fireball to this deck. I'm gonna go old school, add the fireball from the mini P.E.K.K.A., and we'll just try this out, see how it works. So this is basically how we play test these decks. I mean, it's nothing, no rocket science involved. Leave your protractors at home, basically just going ahead and subbing in cards that kind of feel right, seeing how it feels in the match, and then trying to adjust and move on. So let's start out with some Spirit Goblins and a Hog Rider right off the bat here, see what he does, and I'm going to Fireball. So this is a very, very aggressive opening, leaving me with absolutely no Elixir, but what we're counting on is for the defender to expend a lot of Elixir defending, and then hopefully we can make up for it here. So we're going to go ahead and drop the cannon, and we should be able to mitigate any damage done here to my tower. I'm going to go ahead and play things safe and use the zap spell as well. We do have the cannon for another 20 seconds or so, protecting our side of the map. So let's just play it out here, wait and reload on Elixir, and see what our opponent here does. And while we do that, guys, remember, let me know in the comments of this video, if you have the time, to drop me a line, tell me what you think of this whole legendary policy. I know that some of you actually like the legendary decks, some of you don't. So I always, you know, it's one of the things I do struggle with Clash Royale, is how much content do I bring using my free-to-play account versus this account. I've asked you guys for feedback quite a bit in the past, so I don't want to overdo it here and continue asking every single video. But, you know, this is an idea that kind of came to my head. I thought you guys might appreciate it and enjoy it, and we'll see what you guys think. You know, if you don't like it, we'll go ahead and go back to the old way of just switching things up with legendary and non-legendary videos in, you know, pretty much a 50-50 proportion. So this is the combo, guys. This is it again with this Trifecta bowler deck. We did it again with the bowler tanking for the musketeer. Musketeer basically single-handedly, with a little help from the bowler, with a little assist, Batman to her Robin, taking down that tower. So we're going to be a little bit patient with this fireball here. I plan on fireballing these barbarians, but obviously, guys, always be patient with your fireball. Hopefully they can play, you know, goblins, minions, whatever. It doesn't matter what they play. If they play something with those barbarians, you can get much better value out of your fireball instead of a 1 elixir trade, where you're still a winner, obviously, but a 1 elixir trade where you're the slight winner, you can actually get a 4 elixir trade if they drop a minion there with the fireball if you delay. So always delay till the last possible second if you can afford to with that fireball against barbarians. So these might seem like obvious points of advice here, but I do see now and again when people ask me to watch a match, or if I'm watching normal tournament play, I see some mistakes like that, kind of like the one I just made with that cannon, not placing it 1 spot to the left in order to attract the attention of that charging prince. So that was damage I should not have taken on my left tower, but luckily we're able to make up for it by taking down his left tower using the Hog Rider Musketeer combo. So I said in the beginning of this video that I wasn't sure about this deck, how the Hog Rider and the bowler operate together, and so far so good, guys. I can't complain. So looks like both of my bowlers are going to die off here, but nonetheless we do pick up the 2-0 victory using the Trifecta bowler deck. So I can't, again, guys, pretty happy with those results, and we get to move on to the third deck, my favorite deck. Have I mentioned that, guys? I don't know. Maybe I have. But the third deck is a big favorite of mine. Love the spawner. It's been a long time since I've used spawner decks. I started out in Clash Royale playing a lot of spawner decks 6 or 7 months ago when the game came out, and then they were nerfed a little bit, and then other meta took over. Legendaries were introduced. This is before the Princess and Ice Wizard and all those fancy legendary cards, but I love the spawner decks, so I hope that they get a little bit more love after this update. They did not receive any direct buff, with the exception of the Tombstone, but, you know, maybe indirectly with the better bowler in the new Tombstone, in a deck like this, maybe they can find a place inside tournament play. We'll have to wait and see. Certainly some creative people out there have found some usage for the bowler as they finally get him leveled up. I know I just got my bowler literally today to level 4, so I know a lot of other players out there must just be getting their bowler up to tournament standards as well, so I think that's one of the big reasons we haven't seen a lot of bowler action inside tournaments. However, even if you do notice the leaderboard, there are more and more people using the bowler every single day, it does seem. And look at this big train of troops we have coming in on the right lane. This is what we want, guys. He plays the mini P.E.K.K.A. and he totally just disintegrates. Wow, this is really looking good here with the bowler just tanking for all these spear goblins and skeletons and all these annoying troops. And Donnie Chang here is left just saying, wow, I can't believe that just happened with only a goblin hut, a furnace, a tombstone, and a big fat blue bowler stuck right in the middle of it. So that was pretty cool, though. That's why I like the potential of a deck like this. So I did mention that I'll share at the end of the episode what legendary substitutions I would make in these decks. I already talked about where to put the princess in the first deck. In the second deck, well, it's a trifecta deck. You don't necessarily need a legendary card. If you want to add the Ice Wizard for some defensive flexibility, maybe in one of those 2 flex spots that we talked about in that deck, you can go ahead and do that if you want to, or in the trifecta deck, same thing. But I don't think that either of those decks require legendary cards to be successful, as you can hopefully see in this episode. And reminder, guys, this is pre-update, so these changes are not into effect yet. They should be coming tomorrow, so definitely give these decks a fair try tomorrow. See what you think of them. Oh, Three Musketeers, did not see that one coming, but I have my fireball ready. That should leave them with a few hit points left, and luckily not luckily, I was gonna say, luckily I took down this princess as well, but I do not. But hey, the arrows are there to clean up our mess. So, yeah, that's basically it, guys. This spawner deck here, I don't know. I mean, I hate to keep saying that, hey, no legendaries needed, guys, like I'm some sort of a salesman, but the truth is, I don't even know where I would add a legendary card into this deck. I really like the way it is. I like having goblins. I wouldn't add a princess for the goblins. I mean, I like experimenting with Tombstone, but certainly you can add an Ice Wizard or a princess in the Tombstone spot. If you want to get really crazy, go ahead and try a Lumberjack in that goblin spot. It will be a little bit more expensive, but you can really get a huge profit on a push if you get that Lumberjack with the bowler and all those troops, as you kind of saw throughout the episode. So guys, that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate it, guys, and as always, take care.